Hey ratbags, today I'm going to show you how to survive Mistlands. The PTB is well underway and it looks like there won't be too many changes before the full update arrives soon. So here is everything I've learned so far. If you find this guide useful, do leave a like, check out the rest of my guides and gameplay for Valheim and come and join me in my live streams. Let's go with absolutely everything I've learned and how you can survive Mistlands. So the basics before you even set foot in the Mistlands. I would make sure you've got JADE-PLAYS resistance on. It's going to give you more protection against the fire that comes from some of the enemies, or possibly bone mass. Although if you're in a party, you might want to make sure one of you's got Ekkar's ability. The jump and run stamina usage could come in real handy as you're scoping out somewhere to put a base or a portal in the Mistlands. Few more Captain Obvious stuff incoming. You need to get hold of a Wisp Fountain. The drop comes from the JADE-PLAYS. The Torn Spirit should be in your inventory if you defeated him earlier. If it's not there, you may have to refight JADE-PLAYS again, but it should have converted. 10 stone and a stone cutter, and this is how you collect wisps at night time. It doesn't just stock them up though. At night time you'll find they'll just be floating around closer, so you will still have to grab them. This is the most crucial item you need to get through Mistlands. You will die many times if you try doing the Mistlands without it. There are some weapons like the Mist Walker that can also help out, but you won't be getting them till much later in the game. And other items surprisingly don't work, like the Diverger Circlet. They give no help with the mist. You can make plenty of them fountains. It doesn't look like there's any other use for the drop from JADE-PLAYS, and you don't have to have them in the Mistlands. You can have them in any biome and it'll collect it at night time. Later on, once you get some of the Yggdrasil wood, you can make these torches that you can put down and they clear out all of the mist as well. So craft as many of the wisp lights as possible, but always leave a nice supply of the wisps as well for these torches. Other lighting sources like the Diverger lanterns you'll come across, they don't actually get rid of the mist. They'll light up places, but they're not particularly good for that. If you destroy one at one of the excavations, you will be able to then pick it up and use it in your own lamppost or hold it like this. So when you get to the Mistlands, it's important not to build too close to any of the Mistland areas straight away, as you're going to need much better protection against some of the creatures, including the Jarl. They can venture slightly out of their Mistland areas. We built a massive base in my live stream the other day, me and my rat bags, a stone fortress just outside, thinking we'd be safe enough. After 2 or 3 hours, when we had more players join, the Jarl turned up and absolutely destroyed everything. So give yourself a little bit more space for an outpost just outside the Mistlands. Or if you've got a stamina build as high as you can above the Mistlands. The mist doesn't necessarily cover the entirety of the Mistlands. There's a thick layer of it that you can see, and you can also see the Jarl floating around inside. By looks of things, the Jarl only just about floats just above the Mistlands areas. This is one of the most dangerous creatures in the game now, and can wreck a base even made out of stone in minutes. So you just need to find a very high peak and see if you can build on top of it. At least in the early stages anyway. To guarantee this, you might want to look for somewhere that's got snow on it. That's a good sign that you've actually built up high enough. Now, just like the rest of the game, whenever you make any noise like chopping trees down or mining, it does alert creatures nearby. And the Mistlands, it's even worse. Using your pickaxe is one of the worst things you can do early game. So think long and hard about whether or not you're fully prepared, as digging down into any of the brand new excavations where you get the black marble and the soft tissue, that might alert enemies like the Seekers. If you do have a Jarl close by, take off your mist light. It can actually sense it more if you've got the mist light equipped. If the Diverger haven't sensed your base or trying to attack anything like that, then they'll hopefully just move on. Although it does take quite a while for them to sometimes do that and wander off elsewhere. We'll come back towards the Jarl towards the end of the video with some more tips about each of the enemies. If obviously you come across some of the ruins, you can use this to your advantage and make one of them your home, or make the Divergers your friendly neighbours. Build something close to them, and anytime any danger comes along, get inside their actual settlement and they'll protect you as long as you don't destroy any of their boxes or attack them. You can actually destroy the protection totem that you find inside these and then go ahead and start building and making this base yours. Don't forget though to repair everything that you see around you, as a lot of it probably will be damaged from previous fights with either Seekers or some of the Jarl. If you was hoping that some of the new ballistas would help you against some of the Jarl, think again. They don't particularly have a good range for shooting upwards at the moment. In fact, they're much more designed to shoot down. So unless you build a base directly above the mist and hopefully close to where the Jarl won't actually go up, they can be good for that. But if you're trying to maybe fortify just one of the settlements you've already found, it's probably not a good idea to do what I'm doing here. The new ballistas kind of suck at the moment. They don't actually kill some of the creatures because they're way too slow with their projectile shots, although they can do a lot of damage if you manage to get a Jarl to come down. Obviously they fire the brand new wood projectiles or the black metal ones, but if you haven't built these high enough, then the Jarl will simply be way too high and they won't actually be able to be shot by your ballistas. So ballistas right now are better served for protection against seekers or other creatures unless you can actually build a base high enough. Shout out to Grim, one of the Valheim devs that showed me this earlier, but this is your best bet, to maybe put something like a portal down super high on one of the cliffs. But how do you get up and down these cliffs? Well, of course you're going to need the brand new feather cape, but more importantly is making sure you've got plenty of stamina, because even without a cape you can probably get up and down them as long as you're ready to do a bit of jumping and you've got maybe something that you can build a few stairs here and there. Last thing to add about getting black marble or taking over or utilising some of the ruins is if you see bridges and stuff like this, you can dismantle it all, including the ironworks here, but you will need to put a forge down as well as a regular workbench and of course the stonemason's table to demolish it all. The black marble will be demolished just with a workbench and obviously the stonecutter's table, but if you do want to get rid of them iron bits, then you will need the forge too. This is a great way to get lots of black marble early on in the game. Dismantling these ruins is also your best chance of getting iron ingots, as they're ready formed when you break the metal. You can get iron scraps from all the ancient armour pieces, but of course you'll have to smelt all them down. But how do you get black marble then and soft tissue for magic later? We need to find these excavations. The excavations you'll come across usually are guarded by Diverger, so it's not as easy to get at and you're more open and susceptible to attacks from other creatures as well. Of course you will need black metal tools for this, like the pickaxe and of course the axe for the wood. You can't break through the petrified bone until you get a black pickaxe. So get a black axe first, chop the Yggdrasil wood and then you should be able to get the pickaxe. If that all seems still a little bit too advanced, then look out for these particular light statues. They will be broken down and you normally get around 4 black marble from them. You can break it with the black pickaxe and it's a great way to slowly build up some of your crafting benches and items before venturing too deep. You normally come across these way into the Mistlands, but also on the outskirts bordering some of the other biomes too. Find 2 of these and destroy it and then get back to your base and you can start prepping more food and better items. So we're back at your base somewhere safe hopefully, and now it's time to start thinking about upgrading your cauldrons and crafting some of the new benches. The main one being make sure you get hold of some of the eggs from the traders for chickens. You can now grow your own chickens and have your own egg farm. Chickens will need warmth and you will need 2 of them. You get your eggs from a trader and they're 1500 gold coins each, and then you simply need to build yourself a coop close to a fire. Why are eggs so important? They really are some of the best foods in Valheim now. You can't throw any of the eggs that you do get into stacks, it has to be separated, but any seeds that you're going to drop from, they can be put into stacks and bundles and you just drop it on the floor. Now I've done this just on the earth. As far as I know, you can grow chickens absolutely anywhere, maybe even in the mountains, as long as you have got walls around you and it's warm enough. I found the easiest way was to also add a roof, as the eggs outside never actually managed to pop, only when they was inside the little building. They'll eat almost any seed or grain, from tree seeds to barley, even dandelions will work. So chuck a bunch of them inside your coop, close the door, and within a few days you'll have some fully grown chickens and they'll start to lay eggs. A cooked egg on its own is not exactly setting the world alight with 35 health and 12 stamina, but make it into an omelette and you've got one of the highest stamina boosting foods in the game. 85 stamina, 28 health, 3 HP per tick. It also lasts 25 minutes. Now you will need some of the new resources in the Mistlands, so until you get some of the Jotun puffs, you probably will be just going with cooked egg and cooked chicken. Chicken can be placed just on a regular spit. Cooked chicken gives you 60 health and 20 stamina, so it's still a really good tiered item. The uncooked honey chicken will require chicken meat, honey and the Yotten puffs, and then place in the oven obviously. The honey glazed chicken also offers on par health with serpent stew, 80 plus 26 stamina and 5 HP per tick. Add that with the mushroom omelette and you've got a build that will be able to get through the Mistlands' very high peaks, ragged cliffs and sharp edges. With them 3 meals you get 190 health and 180 stamina. So yeah, I mentioned some of the 2 new crops that you can get, the mage caps and the Yoten puffs. They basically give you the same health and stamina, but the magic caps especially, or mage caps, they'll also give you a small amount of ether magic too. So it's vital that you save them for the actual meals. And again, the Yoten, as I showed you, you're going to need some of them for some of the early stuff to do with chickens and some of the eggs. They're scattered all around, and as far as I know you can only grow them in the Mistlands area, as when I tried in another place you could place them down but they simply said they wouldn't grow. So great stamina build ready to go, but you are going to need something important. You won't be able to craft any of them new recipes until you get your cauldron to 5. The mortar and pestle is the new cookery item and that's what's going to increase it to level 5. Of course you can use other foods, but it's important also to start getting more feathers, and I think a chicken farm can be a really reliable way, as we're going to need to think about crafting a feather cape. Although again that's going to be a little bit later, as we need the other special brand new crafting bench, not the black forge. The altar table is obviously where you're going to be making your cloak, as well as the brand new staves or staffs. We're not going to be able to craft it or any of them other items until we start refining some of the ether. So first things first, we need to craft sap extractors. Inside the Idrisil trees themselves you can gather the sap. Now these trees will empty, but they'll also refill over time. So you can pretty much have the same farm set up at the same root or branch always, unless they change anything. The sap collectors will collect 10, and then once you've drained it, then it will keep refilling over time. But you will need the diverger extractor, and you can only get them in the boxes at some of the brand new excavations or inside the outposts. You find these in these rectangle blue and white boxes here. Of course, as soon as you break it open, you will aggro all of the dwarves in the area. And then of course, once you've got some of that sap, then you've got to craft the actual refinery itself. So you'll need to build up a good supply of the certain materials and the black marble and stuff. Once it's done, then you need to get the soft tissue from either killing the diverger dwarves or finding it inside the petrified bones. Loading up the top end with the soft tissue and the sap at the bottom, and eventually the ether will start to refine. Now I've blitzed through that quickly, but like I said, this is meant to be just a tips guide rather than a thorough process, but I will take a look at these in more depth, and I have done a magic guide to explain more about the magic refining process. At this point though, and to make some of the other stuff, you are going to need the black cores, especially for the golden table itself, and you can only get the black cores inside the infested mines. This is not something you're going to be doing on day one unless you're incredibly quick and fast at trying to just get the cores and get out of there. There's a lot of seekers in these places, so you're going to be well advanced about fighting them, I think, before you really delve into them. But you find them again on the plimps, just like the Surtling cores. There's loads of secret doorways and stuff that will open up and hopefully show you more loot, but of course more enemies to deal with. Also, you want to be looking out for fragments as well. The seal fragments you find in glass cases as you explore the infested mines. These are what you're going to need to actually summon the boss or open the doorway to the boss later. That will be more in the advanced guide. When it comes to the Seekers, the regular Seekers aren't too bad. If you only get 1 or 2 of them attacking you, you can stun them with a variety of different weapons, and of course blocking if you've got a good amount. And magic does obviously work really well. So when you start processing it and you're starting to get some of the weapons, then things like the staves and staves can do well. Or even the Mistbreaker. Frost arrows could also be a good alternative to cheese and anything with flame as well. Soldiers are incredibly tough as well. As a solo player, you're meant to be looking for weak points. All enemies now have weak points in the game by the looks of things, and the weak points for the Seekers is at the back of them. It's pretty tough to get around them, especially solo, so wait till they do their ground pound, run in, and that's a good opportunity, or when they do their roar. Roll to the side, run in, and then do a couple hits. You've got to time it right though, as that weak point has to be hit right in the spot. You can stun most of the regular Seekers with a swing from the brand new Lightning Adger, and you can block them a lot more. You can actually stun some of the soldiers as well, sometimes using it too, but yeah, it's not as common. If you're cheesing, shooting them from up high with arrows, like I said, aim for the bump. The Diverger dwarves are quite difficult as well, particularly the guys with range attack, and they usually have a couple of wizards as well. Now there's one wizard with a blue set of gear on. They'll do much more projectile damage towards you. Then you've got a wizard with yellow gear. He'll heal himself and only occasionally chuck a projectile at you. He does also give some sort of buff if it's just healing or more damage for the other Diverger dwarves as well. So when taking these on, try and lure one away and take them on separately, and definitely go for the range guys first, as the magic users, they can be dealt with afterwards. Has to be said though, the projectiles will follow you around. They're like heat-seeking little missiles. I tried pretty much every kind of arrow on the dwarves to see which one would be more effective, and of course things like poison, fire and the ice frost arrows are all effective, and the needle arrows will take care of them fairly easily as well. I want to say that maybe poison did just a little bit more damage than some of the others, but I'm going to have to evaluate that more in a more advanced guide. But overall, the needle arrows with just so much piercing damage overrule everything else. The blue mages will fire off a ice spell that can do ice damage or frost damage for you for about 3-4 seconds too. And it's pretty destructive against some of the wooden beams and stuff inside their own tower. When you kill them you get soft tissue, some gold, and I did get black marble, but honestly I couldn't tell whether it was from them or just from some of the ruins. I spoke pretty extensively about the Jarl earlier, but yes, they're really tough to defeat. Solo you need to get as much distance from them as possible. When the ticks lands they'll do a huge amount of health damage against you. Now hopefully they're going to work a bit better in shaking them off. At the moment it's meant to be if you roll you can get rid of the ticks quicker, but it just doesn't seem to be working that reliably. You're aiming for its weak point, which are pretty obvious, the pink bit underneath it, and if you've got some frost arrows that looks like to be one of the best bets, as its damage here, its spew will set you on fire for a few seconds. Make sure you've got Yagoloth activated or even some anti-fire potions. The ticks, when they do drop, you can actually move out the way of one of them pretty easily, just sideswipe as they lunge and then hit them with 3 hits. The second hit should hopefully kill them. And they're pretty susceptible to arrows too. They're not hard to deal with on their own, just one, and you can block their shots as well. But obviously when there's more than one, that's when you might run into more trouble. So don't underestimate them as soon as they start seeing more than one. There's a lot of other stuff that could potentially help, things like the brand new traps. They could be also useful for taking on the hares. Now the hares aren't dangerous, but if you want to get their meat and their fur, their hide, then yes you can. The food can be cooked on a spit, but not on just a regular spit. It's got to be one of the iron ones, or it's used as part of one of the new recipes involving the hare. And that's pretty much going to wrap up how to survive. Obviously there's a lot more to go over. Go and check out my individual guides and more advanced ones that I'm working on right now. But hopefully that gives you a flavour and taste of what to expect and what to overcome. You will need the best gear going before you even head to the Mistlands areas. So far I've not encountered any ways to get reliably tin or bronze. You do get copper, as I said, from breaking up some of the outposts from the Diverger, and you can get iron ingots from the metal inserts, and obviously scraps from the ancient armour pieces, but some of the materials you might want to bring with you. Focus on getting the Golda table and refinery set up as well, and hopefully that will lead you to magic, which will be able to deal with so many of these mobs so much better. In the next part we're going to have more advanced tips for the enemies, base building ideas, and how to perfectly utilise things like the blister and the traps, as well as take on the boss. Come and join me in my nightly streams, regular, seeing my fails. We're going to be starting a brand new server after Christmas as well for my members and regular ratbags to come and join as well. Until next time, I'll catch you later.